Happy Saturday morning. It is time for another edition of The Reality of Real Estate. Cynthia Hash takes us on a tour of what's really going on because it's something that maybe you do once, maybe two times in your life, maybe a couple of more. But Cynthia, good Saturday morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joe. Appreciate you having us on. And I have a fantastic guest today that is actually a guest before. And we learned so much from him that we invited him back and he said yes. So I'd like to, I'd like to introduce you to Jamie Yowell again. And he's from the Bank of the James and knows a lot about this lending business stuff that doesn't always fit in everyone's wheelhouse, right?
Truth.
There are some nuances, that's for sure.
And there's one that we were talking about recently, and I'd love for you to expand on it, and that is the cost of a bad decision. And and I was kind of naming that a little bit like being penny wise and dollar foolish.
Yeah, it can happen and it can fall under penny wise and dollar foolish or things I wish I would have known, right? Hindsight's so clear, but in the moment, sometimes we're making a rash decision or what can become a very challenging decision without really thinking it through. And that's certainly the example that I put out that you and I were talking about before. And unfortunately, it cost that family, and it's sad to see, but it happens.
So the real cost of that bad decision that we're speaking of is and it impacted, it doesn't just impact a buyer and a seller. It impacts everybody that's been working for the file, including the lender and the attorneys and the settlement companies and the title company and the realtors and so forth. So, like you said, who lost? And it's literally everyone involved. So you were saying something like the buyer agent, they lost the sale, the commission, all the time that they've been spending in it, all the effort that they've been putting into it, and so forth. And, so does the lender. They're doing all those things as well. So tell me a little bit about what actually happened.
Yeah, it is a shame because everybody, there's no winner in the situation, especially for the family that was under contract to buy the home. They're transitioning to the area. Everything's lining up for them to take on new work in the area. And then poof, they have no home.
Well, that's
And
the worst case you could possibly
Oh, it's terrible,
imagine.
right? Because you
Uh,
think you have a landing place, all this time and effort that everybody has put into it
yeah.
to guide and get you to this position, right? Like finding a home that you love, negotiating on it successfully, coming to terms that suit a closing timeline. You're doing the home inspection, the lender's doing their part. So all of these things, and then now they had nothing. So uh,
Uh,
we we got introduced to them. We had them in a very confident. I always talk to clients about two things. We're trying to confidently pre-approve them so we know if they go make an offer as much information as we know
mhm,
ahead of time that we can get them to closing and into their home. And part two of that is helping them be comfortable and confident in the process as well.
mhm.
So we work with this client. We've got them confidently approved. They're under contract. Everything is great. And then the area that they're moving from, there's a call center lender
Mhm.
that in their market advertises and markets a ton. And so he said, I've talked with them. I felt like I should do my due diligence, and I've talked with them, and net, they're about $700 cheaper. And I said, hey, totally appreciate that. Typically, mortgages are sort of like a Coke, right? Coke is pretty similarly priced, whatever store you go to.
Yeah.
Um, This particular lender, however they were structuring things, looked to be about $700 less. And he said, they're really big in my current market. That $700 really means a lot. I'm gonna take advantage. Jamie, you've been great, but I'm going to do that. And I
Oh my
just
gosh, over $700.
well,
And
you and I think that way because we know we've seen it too
yes.
many times to know the difference. But sometimes consumers and home buyers, they're like, well, that's $700. That's the price of the appraisal. That's the price of the inspector. I could recoup that money.
Yeah.
To you and I, we've seen it go wrong often enough.
Yeah.
You'll pay well more than that $700 to have confident guidance. But so I do understand home buyers feeling like that could be a lot of money,
Yeah.
but we see how it doesn't work out often.
Yes, unfortunately, because that person, whoever called them, and I know it's that call center thing, that they get into because the credit bureaus are allowed to sell their information to everybody, and then they start feeling, puffed up because they have all these lenders that are calling them wanting their business, begging for their business, and it's kind of similar to how, Zillow and Realtor.com and all those others treat realtors. And so and it's not cool. And I actually I think I saw new legislation that's been introduced that is going to stop those trigger lending leads. Yay.
Yes, finally. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
abusive to clients. It's absolutely abusive to people looking to buy a home.
Mhm.
The volume of call and text that they would get because of this ability from the credit agencies to sell their information without their permission. Without
Yeah,
their permission. So anyway, you're right. There's bipartisan supported language that's been passed by the House and the Senate. That's approved. So we're very near to that being gone and done with. There'll still be a little bit of factor of that, but it's limited to the lender they're working with or the current servicer, or if there's a financial relationship already. So it will stop abusing people looking to buy a home, which is so good in our world.
I think
So
it makes it
we're
very
very
helpful.
excited.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
all this did for these people that your example that you're speaking of, it just ruined everything.
it creates confusion,
Yeah.
and then you don't know what to judge by. And when you don't know what to judge by, you use what the media will talk about, which is
Hmm.
it's the cost. I can only compare the cost. And you're like, all right, well, a Toyota Corolla and a Mercedes cost different. Do they both drive? Yes. Do they both provide a different experience? Yes. So it's not always a fair comparison on cost, although I do understand consumers want to lead that way in the absence of other information. They feel like that's a default. So
Yeah.
while you and I see and get to help and serve so many clients,
Mhm.
we know the service side of it and the experience side of it comes into play so much more than some dollars here or there. And in this case, this family ultimately they that lender
Hmm.
did ultimately denied their loan. They
Oh
wouldn't approve the
gosh.
loan, so they thought about doing the loan a different way. And for that client, it wasn't an awesome way for them. So ultimately, that purchase they terminated under the financing contingency because the lender denied them. Now I disagree. I don't think that loan should have been canceled whatsoever because we covered those hurdles in the pre-approval
There you
because
go.
those are the things that sort of keep me up at night. Like, have we covered that?
Right,
And
right.
and you laugh because we've both laid awake or we've woken up in the night. Like,
Oh yeah.
do we have all these things sort of covered? And
Yeah, and,
so
and I'll tell you, the thing is that if you don't, if you're in our profession, so even though I'm a realtor, you're a lender, and this is Jamie Yowell, and he does a fantastic job. Everybody, he's the Bank of the James, and he knows what the Sam Hill he is doing, and we appreciate him. But this is what we have to do. Honest to goodness, I have a pad and a pen next to my bedside. I have a pad and a pen. I kid you not, in the bathroom. I have a pad and a pen in the kitchen. I have a pad. It's got to be somewhere so I can make sure all these thoughts that are going through my head on multiple conversations, multiple transactions that I'm trying to negotiate, all these things, you probably do the same thing. And
Yes.
so what the reason why it keeps us up at night is because we have integrity,
Yeah, we
right?
really desire to serve the clients, the home buyers at a really high level. And when you do that, you can perseverate over some details because you're all the time looking around the corner. Where are the gotchas for the client? My team and I spend a lot of time. Where are the gotchas? Because that's where I want us focused. So yeah, we spend a lot of time on that to have a good experience. But I think it's time well spent mostly. There's sometimes you can drive yourself a little crazy. But I think with the right heart, that just comes with the job, right? Like I think
I think it
surgeons
does.
are the same way. I think pilots
Yep.
are the same way. I think
Oh,
people that are paving roads, like they want to do a good job. They spend time thinking about these
eh,
things.
right, exactly. Anybody that is worth their salt is going to end up and here's the thing. Does that make you as if you have a consumer and I'm a consumer, do I think that it is what your thoughts are, your experience is, and so forth? I think is personally, I would have paid that $700 anyway, because it would seem like to me that I'm paying for a particular type of service which is above and beyond. And it looks like, in the end, they had to get out, which is really seriously affecting everyone. And I mean, I feel for the seller at that point because if
Everyone, yeah.
yeah, because if they had stuck with you, they could have done this. And as a realtor, people think we're made of money, and but here's what I would have done. I would have said, "Let me give $700 of my commission. Please stay with Jamie."
Yeah, it's tough, right? And I do want to give them credit because the consumers don't, if they view it all as equal, then they're only judging on price, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And the same with real estate, with
Yeah.
realtors. And for years, there's been discount brokerages, and we can get into that. And all the work that realtors do that they receive no compensation for, that's free. And
Yep.
it's a lot. So we could get into all of that, but what we talked about in this situation for this home buyer, they thought everybody was equal in the process. So they defaulted to choosing cheaper price. And
Mhm.
then ultimately they had to secure a rental for the year. So that's 2,500. I did the math the other day, but $2,500 a month, that's 30,000 a year.
Mhm.
And then if they're the home that they were going to buy, I
Yeah,
think I did the appreciation at 3 or 4%, which is pretty
that's
average
right.
for our area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was another 15,000 right there.
right.
And so they lost when you well, let's put it this way. When you are a tenant or a um, person who's got a mortgage, either way, you're going to pay a mortgage. It's either going to be your own or it's going to be the landlord's.
Yeah, so true.
Yep.
So
So you're
true.
you're looking at $45,000, poof, gone.
Yeah, and it's not a place of their own. They're not settled. They're
Yeah.
taking new jobs. Like that's a huge financial impact to them.
Yeah.
But they're still not settled, right? It delays things another year while they work through their transition. So it goes under things I wish I would know as a home buyer. And all things are not equal. All prices are not equal. The service you get is not equal.
Yeah.
Um, it's
That's
why we
true.
don't go to the cheapest dentist. It's why often flying the cheapest airline doesn't have the greatest experience, right?
That's right.
I can buy a three-wheeled car, doesn't corner like a four-wheel car, right? Like there's value,
Mhm.
and then there's outcome to what we're really trying to accomplish.
Right. And if you've got a lender that can't deliver, and your loan's denied, that ruins the whole next year of your life. Because you're on a time crunch. And here's the thing: any kind of strong borrower, right? And you knew they were strong at the time, but they should have closed.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of just wondering, and this is the same kind of battle that I, go through daily. I have to fight every other realtor's reputation that isn't great, you know. So I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not me. And the other thing is, yeah, well, you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for it. That's the bottom line. If you're just looking for nothing but I'm going to save a penny, and this is where that whole old saying goes, penny wise, dollar foolish. And this is a perfect example of that. But if you're looking at buyers that are choosing these financial matters in all these things, it's the same thing like you said, you're not gonna get the cheapest dentist. I'm not getting the cheapest painter when I'm fixing my house up right now, and I'm not gonna get the cheapest painter. It's
Yeah.
gonna be the one that's probably in the middle somewhere. It's not gonna be the most expensive necessarily, but at the same time, I also am looking for quality and integrity.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Those things really matter. And it matters all along the way too, right? Like I don't want most of the cheapest things aren't what's going to put us in position, nor do you need to buy the premium items all the time. And there's a time and a place if you want to splurge or have those items, nothing wrong with that, right? But
Yep,
most of us are looking, especially when we're making what is often referred to as the largest purchase of our lifetime.
that's right.
We're really building a team, and that team is their realtor that they can trust, that they can call on. Their realtor is half psychologist of all the years and families served, that experience of what you can tell a client in 5 minutes versus what they would have to talk with so many others to learn that same thing. Like that's
Yeah,
years of experience that they're getting in a short amount of time that they can rely on and trust. Same with
that's
a
right.
lender, same with the home inspector, or if there's others that need to look at things on the home. It's a full team to
Yeah.
help guide that process to get you where you want to go, and that is increasing your odds. So when we talk about things I wish I would have known,
That's
put the
one.
good team together. The
Yeah.
dollars will be the dollars. But when you have a good team, it's not the most expensive team. It's not the cheapest team. It's people that are dedicated to serving you, and
Yeah.
it's a fair and competitive price all put together.
Yeah, exactly. And also the hard work that's involved is not only, quote unquote, it's not like you're blue collar and sweating every day, right? Although sometimes as a realtor, I do that. So
There's a lot of sweat in both of
there's a
our
lot.
worlds. That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm out there sometimes, picking weeds and cleaning a house or something like that. That that's kind of not what every realtor will do, but I will tell
Or
you, yeah,
or it's using your reputation, sweating in that negotiation, whether it's on the sell
yes,
side or the buy side,
right,
using your reputation and your experience with the other realtor of really getting in there and negotiating on their behalf. That's grinding it out, and that it's not made for TV. People don't see that, but using
yeah,
that relationship capital to get your client's goal achieved, they'll never see the negotiations of the other side saying, hey, I know Cynthia's upstanding. I know
that's
she'll
right.
follow through on what she's saying. Let's take this client. Let's take this opportunity. Let's move forward. So that relational capital really comes into play a lot too.
That well put. I think if there's any kind of decision to be made in real estate, the first ones should be before going to see anything, build your team.
A,
And
a 1,000%.
Yeah.
And I know we have to go. And we're up against it on time. But the other thing I think from a lender perspective is,
Yep.
so we'll talk to people that we rescue a lot of loans from other lenders, and they'll say, well, they told me my maximum was X, so we just went home shopping. And you're like, oh, I don't appreciate that practice of, oh, your max is here. Have a great day. Go home shopping.
Yeah.
No. What would you like your payment to be? Let's talk about it with insurance, with taxes. Is there a homeowners association? Let's make sure it's in your budget. Are you good with those numbers? Instead of like, I see this house, I was told the max and I must fit in. So well, now that didn't have insurance, it didn't have taxes. They're not being served well. There's a better way to serve people. And we run it through the lens of, if the client was our family or us, how would we approach it? So that's how our team runs that filter. So we never have to think about our answer. If it was us in their situation or our family, what advice or guidance would we give
That's
them?
exactly right.
And that's how you
And
build
the
team.
PITI that you're talking about, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, if you're not taking all four of those into consideration, then you're probably, this is the way I look at it. It's going to be an A-team thing where pity the fool.
You can really make a bad decision.
You know the guy on A-team that says pity the fool? Well, that's PITI if you're not looking into it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I love it. I love it.
So thank you so much for your help on this, and we appreciate how you, and this is how you can get a hold of him. Go to Jay Yowell at btjm.com, and his number is 434-981-5849. And you can also go to see the last recording was several weeks ago, and it was Jamie as well. And you can go to findhomesrealty.com/podcast. So I know you have to go. I'm going to stick around, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the craziness of those trigger leads. So,
oh yes, yes, blessings to that being approved. So yeah, thank you so much. Always great seeing you and talking with you.
You too. See ya.
All right. Bye now.
Bye. And so, Joe, have you heard of the trigger leads going away in this industry of real estate lending?
Well, I may need to be caught up a little bit. I mean, I conceptually know what they sound like they are. It sounds like a database. You've signed up for something, you've purchased something, or you've looked at a website and your personal information has been sent to a list somewhere. Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that what that'll do is that'll kind of flow over into the real estate business. But
Sure.
Right now, it's starting with the lending business, and that is where if someone goes in to get their credit checked, and the reason they're doing that is they're getting a mortgage.
Right.
So when a mortgage lender, like let's say Jamie was going in and getting somebody's credit check, and believe it or not, the credit bureaus are allowed to sell that information.
Now does this, so let me ask you this, because I know a lot of times when you check your credit, it hits your credit. So, anytime you might, and a lot of credit companies will say, we can check your credit without it damaging your credit. So there must be some difference within the world as to, who's doing the asking.
Well, that's true. It's the way they're doing it. And that is, there is such a thing as a soft pull, so that it doesn't ding your credit.
Okay.
So if you get something that's a hard pull, and it will drop your credit score. And and so what loan officers will do is they go ahead, when they do the hard pull, which they have to at some point, right? Then the trigger, that's the trigger. Because when they pulling those credit bureaus, they're pulling that information, and then that person's information without their permission goes to dozens upon dozens of lenders. They're all alerted at the same time.
Wow.
Yes, borrowers are then flooded with hungry lenders, often within hours Okay. And then all this unsolicited mortgage offering starts pouring in. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This
Uh-huh.
is what Jamie and I were just talking about.
Right. Where they swooped in and stole a client from him simply
That's
because
exactly
he
right.
checked their credit.
That's exactly right. And over $700. And
Wow.
again, I would have probably, coughed that up in my commission just to be able to get them in their house.
So it wasn't $700 a month. It was just a
No,
total over the
uh,
wow.
overall, not $700 a month, not
Wow.
at all. It was $700 in closing costs. That was it.
So let me ask you this. So there's things, like if you download an app for your smartphone
Mhm.
and you have to hit I accept, and there are things buried in these I accept
That's right.
provisos that say you allow things to happen. And a lot of people are surprised when they find out that, oh, how did they get my information? Is that what's happening here, or are these people
Yeah.
really having their information ripped from them?
It's being sold. The information's being sold, and it's being sold by the credit bureaus. And this is what is called mortgage trigger lead. That's a
Hmm.
mortgage trigger lead model. And that
Man.
that model has gotten to the point that has caused extreme friction in the industry. And unfortunately, that trust that these people that were Jamie's uh, past clients, those those people had built a trust
Hmm. Hmm.
with Jamie. Okay. And then all of a sudden, one of those dozens of lenders called them and stole them from him. So
Right.
how did they even get that information? Because Jamie had pulled their credit because it was time to do that.
Wow, I can't
And
believe the industry would even allow. I guess, as you said, even with realtors, there are people who are scrupulous and people who are not so much.
that's exactly right. And so these kinds of problems behind these trigger leads is has be it in my it's the experience just breaks those trusts.
Hmm.
And that's not a great thing to do. And because it ends up with people in this case, they were quote unquote homeless, even though they had to sign a lease. But that ended up costing them between the lease and other costs that ended up costing them like $45,000 in the long run.
Oh my
And that's
gosh.
that's yes. And so what's happening here is these trigger leads are they're flawed. Okay, so when a credit pull tells you nothing about the borrower's what their goals might be, what their timing might be, what their
Right.
financial situation might be, what they might be able to uh, maybe they don't maybe that what Jamie was talking about too, it doesn't tell you anything about what they really want to keep as far as their budget goes.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to be house poor, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so each lead, what's happening is what still, even though there's legislation to get rid of it, each lead is sold to so many lenders, and then the borrower gets
Wow.
confused. They get flooded with all these similar offers, and there's only little teeny bits of differences, and it ends up completely diluting the relationship that they had built with someone like Jamie. And so, and then on top of it, you end up having a low performance typically, and this is what happened. They couldn't. They denied the loan in the long run, right in the last
Wow.
minute. Yeah, and so those conversion, um, those those people that were converted, to this, they didn't know what was going on because they were just plain confused, and they thought they were going to be saving $700, but they didn't.
Mm.
It ended up costing them $45,000, and yeah, yeah, and so these. But here's the thing, lenders who are these online lenders and that they do nothing but just get leads and then
Yeah.
robocall them.
Right.
Okay, well, those people are the ones that end up getting these leads, and they try to convert people into actual clients. And but here's the thing, they're selling these leads, so the credit bureaus are charging tons and tons of lenders, anywhere between 30 to $100 per lead.
Holy cow.
And
That's so greasy.
it is. And so when and here's the thing, it's in the real estate industry too. And it's like, wait, why is this happening? Why is my relationship breaking down?
Hmm.
When it's because other realtors or other lenders or whatever are calling my client. And so
Harassing almost.
and harassing basically. So if you have like a buyer broker agreement with a realtor, and you trust that realtor, and you're developing a relationship with that realtor, and you get phone calls, well, 9 out of 10 times it's probably because you're taking your app on your phone, and it's Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin or some, etc., and it is coming back to them. All those, they're getting sold. All those leads are getting sold. So you've got a relationship with a realtor, but you're still looking on all these platforms,
Mm,
and and realtors keep calling you because they bought those leads. They bought your name.
right. They think you're still interested.
Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, you're still interested in finding it. And okay, so maybe you like that platform, you want to use it. Just be smart about it and
Hmm.
forward it to your realtor and say, that's the house I want to see. Will
Right.
you arrange that? And oftentimes what they sometimes will do is they'll get into something that says, hey, here's your like top dollar, and they don't realize how much, like Jamie was talking about, the PITI really is, and that's what it's going to be monthly. So principal, interest, taxes, insurance, if you don't know what those are and you're not including those, and this is how much it's, these lovely little tidbits on Zillow will say, this is how much you can buy it for monthly.
Oh yeah.
That's not the whole story, people.
No,
It's not the whole story.
and it's usually to your detriment. It's the best case scenario, and nobody ever has the best case scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
But
it.
so as Jamie said, I think he's glad it's one of them, and I'm hoping it'll bleed over into the real estate world, our world and real estate as well. But glad that these trigger leads are going to go away eventually.
Amen.
So, yeah, I think it's Bill HR 2808 or something, and that is where all the credit unions are going to stop being able to do this.
Yeah, call Ben Klein and John McGuire and tell them you want them to vote yes. Cynthia, thank you so much for this. I mean,
Sure.
again, it's just another one of those places where we just expect our privacy is private, and it's not. And thank you
It's
for
not. Sure.
giving us another thing to keep us up at night.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope it doesn't. So everybody go to findhomesrealty.com/podcast and see all the other recordings that we have. We have really good conversations, and I appreciate you, Joe.